So, one of the biggest problems that I think some people are experiencing when they're trying to start a drawing is that they just don't know how to get started. They just don't know how to set things up. So, today I'm going to show you a handful of layouts, and I am just using a sheet of cardstock here, and it is the printer paper sized. And so, I would encourage you to just go and grab a piece of paper or grab your journal, and we are going to go over a couple of these layouts, and I'm just going to use this piece of paper to show you. So how about we get started up here in the corner, and I'm just going to be grabbing one of my pens, and I'll be starting with these little boxes. So actually I'm going to use my permanent marker to make a nice box. It's going to be nice and easy to draw a few little lines in. And so this very first one, I'm just going to label it something easy. So I'm just going to call it Break It Up. And it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to make a few lines to break up the space so that now I'm able to draw a few more things in here. And I'm just going to do it really easily like this. And these lines don't have to be straight. So you saw I just drew two lines that are right next to each other. And I'm just going to do this a handful more times throughout. And they're kind of on top of each other here. So here's another one. And I'm breaking up the space that way. So I'm going to come over here and do this one more time. And you don't have to use two lines like this. You can just use a single line. That works just fine. And I'm just breaking up the space. Kind of drawing these little ribbons in here. Just so that it isn't so daunting having an entire space to draw in. How about I do it one more time here? So now I'm just going to have lots of little spaces. And I just need to think about what I want to put inside of each of those small spaces. So let's say I choose this one here. What can I draw in here? Just some lines or some contours. So let's try that. So I'm just going from corner to corner in a sense and just adding some contours in here. And I can choose to just put this same design in every one of these spaces, or I can choose different designs and just kind of go with it. So this is one way, is you just break up the space with some lines this way. So the next one, here's another one, is in a sense, it's a variation of this first one, just a tiny bit different. These are cobbles. So they look like cobblestones. And so the way that I like to do this is I just kind of start in the corner and I create all these little shapes that look like stones. And I make them of various sizes. Some are little, some are large, just whatever it is. And it's going to depend on your page, how large you want to make these. And then once you're ready, you can start making some kind of patterns in here. Let's say you just want to draw some circles. And you can just fill up all the little stones that way and make different designs and patterns inside of all of them. So that's doing cobbles. So let's draw another box over here. So for this one, we're going to do some stacking. And when you do stacking, you can stack straight up or in any direction that you like. So I'm going to show you stacking from the left to the right. So something you can do is just start with simple shapes like some squares or boxes. Let's say I just started off with a few boxes. And you can continue that same shape, just stacking that way. Or you can start changing up the shapes. So now they're these sort of ovals. Or your shapes can be kind of abstract, so a little bit wiggly like this. And just like with the other ones, you can choose designs to start filling in here. Like let's say I wanted to fill this in, I can create this second line here just to help separate things. And I can start doing lots of little curls or little circles, just a little shape. And just make little patterns in here. And it's up to you which kind of patterns you want to use. If you are unsure of any patterns, I do have some available. I have a playlist on my channel that you can take a look at in case you just don't have any ideas. But usually some simple ones are some little squares, little circles, or just simple lines, little squiggles like this, and you can start filling in spaces like that. So that's a stack. I'm going to show you another way to do a stack, and let me put it right here. There we go. So another way to do a stack is to start it in the center. And so let's just call this a center stack then. So a center stack is obviously going to be a lot like this one up here, but we're going to start it somewhere inside of the page. So let's say I'm just doing boxes like this. Well, now I can just keep stacking them outward. So I'm just kind of heading out from there. Notice they're behind the original one. And then I just change up the size, the lengths. And so once you have the number of boxes that you'd like to have, or let's say you did circles or whatever shape you did, you can just keep stacking it up. If you want, you can do the same thing here and start adding some designs inside of the boxes. So like that. And then you can just kind of play around with it. And again, this is going to depend on the size page you have. You can use a small piece of paper. You don't have to use a big one. So that is a stack from the side and now a stack from the center. So let's start another one over here. So here's our box. So for this one, we're going to do what would happen if we had a main element. So what I like to do on a lot of my drawings is I'll get started by just choosing one or two shapes that I want to be the focal point. So let's call this focal point. And this focal point can be anywhere on the page. Let's say I decided that I wanted to have a big flower right here on my page. So here's a big flower. Composition wise, the flower is pretty large because this is my canvas. I wanted a big flower and I wanted a large kind of swirl here. And maybe I want one more swirl. So these are my focal points. They are the things that are taking up all the attention. And so once I've worked on those, then I can start letting things kind of happen around them that aren't as important, but they're just fun to add in. So you're going to add in shapes that are maybe like leaves. So it's something like that. Or you might add in some kind of flowing little things. And you notice what this is, it is very much like a center stack. So in the center stack, we chose something to be at the foreground of the whole image, and then everything just kind of followed. But in a stack, there tends to be a whole lot of repetition. Whereas when you choose a focal point, there isn't as much repetition. You're going to be using a whole lot of different elements. As you saw here, I started off with a flower and these swirls, and then I'm just allowing a whole lot of things to kind of come outward from there. And of course, I would take my time and just keep adding things to this as I see fit. So that would be a focal point. So let's start another box down here. So that's our next box. And so for this next one, we're going to talk about something that's a little obvious, but that I still think is important to denote here. So we're going to do repetition. I'm actually going to put it in the center here because we're going to do this twice. So I'm kind of putting it on the side. So for repetition, like I said, it seems a little obvious, but it's actually a really excellent way to play around with size. So let's say I want to try this little swirling shape here. This, so let's say I put that here. Well, my whole page now is going to have that one shape. So let's do another one. And another. And another. And you'll notice that when you take one shape and you repeat it, you're going to be more tempted to change the sizes and make them small and then large. And you're just going to be playing around with size here. It's very meditative too, just taking one shape and repeating it. It could be as simple as just a circle. It could be as simple as just dots. If you have large markers, like kid markers, maybe some Crayolas, you could actually just come through and just make dots. Lots and lots of dots. And just see what happens. So as you can see, that's just one shape repeated kind of evenly around the page. It doesn't really matter where you put the small ones or the big ones. You're just kind of going with what happens. So that's repetition. And then we're going to do repetition one more way. So let's put another one over here. So another way to do repetition is to have it coming out from a center location. So let's say I choose a very simple shape. So here I have the shape of a heart. Nice, simple, familiar shape. Now I'm going to have these radiate out from here. So I'm going to draw another heart and another and another, and I guess one more right here. So it looks like a flower or like a clover or something like that. Well, I'm just going to keep repeating that shape, heading out from there. And you'll notice that there's natural progression of you wanting to change it, so it's not always the same. Or I guess you can keep them all the same and just see how that looks. I think I just tend to continuously make longer and shorter lines when I'm working. So here it is heading out from there. And if you like, you can start changing it up to a different shape. So how about I use a teardrop now? And they're all radiating. And I can fill these spaces with patterns or just color them in, whatever. These are all just ideas and layouts to get you started. Just so that you're not afraid of that page and you can actually get to making some lines on that paper. Because I know that sometimes it's when you are at a loss for ideas that's actually exactly when you need the help. Just need some quick and easy ways to get started on some little designs that are just fun and just get you started. So here they are. These are our layouts. You can break up the page into small spaces. You can draw cobbles, fill in with some patterns. You can do some stacking from a side or from the center, like this one right here. You can choose a few focal points or main elements here. Or you can do some repetition. So just pick one shape and just keep repeating it over and over again, either kind of everywhere on the page or radiating from a center point. And so those are just a few ideas to get you started. I hope you try this out. So thank you so much for watching today, for joining me, and I hope you have an excellent day today.